So you may have heard me piss off the entire Dave Ramsey community when I say never pay off your house. And I don't really mean like never. What I mean is you have no business paying stuff off until you have a passive income that covers all your expenses. When you've done that, now you go ahead and pay your stuff off. Which means that if you have equity in your house, you need to access that. You need to pull it out of your property so that you can invest it, buy some other assets, and basically use those assets to create that passive income so that a time can come that you can pay everything off. In today's video, I'm going to share with you the 5 steps of how you access the equity in your home so that you can actually put that money to work, making more money for you. As of 2024, the average American who owns a home has $299,000 worth of equity. I guess we better start by defining what is equity. Well, here's an example of a house, and let's just say that it has a value of $300,000. So if your home has a value of $300,000, but what you owe is $200,000, the difference is $100,000. This, my friends, is what $100,000 looks like. And in this situation, this home would have $100,000 of equity. And let me ask you, how did you get equity in this home in the first place? Oh, you bought it a while ago, the market went up. That's kind of cool. Is there a part of you that's like, shoot, if I had one home that was like creating this financial benefit for me, I wish I had 2 homes or 10 homes that were doing that for me. I remember the first time I made $100,000 on a house and I thought, oh my gosh, $100,000 is a tenth of a million. And if every house I did was worth $100,000, because $100,000 on 10 homes is $1 million, which kind of brings up the question, why would you want $100,000 of equity sitting in this house, simply appreciating at whatever that market's appreciating at, versus sitting in more houses, creating more equity? Now, there's an important side note on equity. Just because the house is worth $300,000 and you owe $200,000, which means you have $100,000 of equity, that doesn't mean that a bank will say, sure, why don't you mortgage the house to the hilt and we'll give you $100,000, in which case you'll have no equity. The truth is, banks like it when you keep some of the equity in the house, so they don't let you pull all of the equity out, but they let you pull out a good portion of it, usually up to about 80% of its value. So by the way, if this is a $300,000 house, then 80% of that value is $240,000. If I owe $200,000 and the bank will let me go up to 80% or $240,000, then the bank says, okay, we'll give you $40,000 of that equity in that property. And what can you do with $40,000? Well, in my world, you can do a lot. All right, you've got some equity. And it begs the question, how do you get that equity out of the house? There are 2 ways. The first way is doing what's called a cash out refinance. This is where you talk to the bank and essentially say, all right, bank, I know that you'll probably give me up to 80% of the value of my home. And since I owe $200,000 and it's worth $300,000, I'm assuming that that's roughly $40,000. Bank, let's go into this refinance process where I can basically redo my mortgage terms, but at the end of the day, you'll cut me a check for the $40,000 of equity that I can access today. What's great about that option is you do a cash out refinance and you get the cash. What kind of sucks about that option is that if you do it and you get the $40,000 and you don't know what you're gonna do with it, then all you really did was access $40,000 and increase your mortgage. So your payments are kind of higher. You should kind of have a plan for why you're taking money out. And here's a good one. Don't use it to fix up the house. Don't use it to buy a boat. Don't use it to buy a car. Those are called liabilities and they go down in value. Your house is an asset that goes up in value. Never take equity out of your house and put it into something that goes down in value. You always transfer it into something else that goes up in value, which is why I prefer the second method a little bit more for how I access equity in a home. It's called a home equity line of credit. Think about it this way. It's like going to the bank and saying, bank, my house is worth $300,000. I owe $200,000. Bank's like, we would pull out up to $40,000 for you, let you up to 80% of that value. But we're going to do it through what's called a line of credit. Think of it like a credit card that is attached to the equity in your home. And you get this piece of plastic and it says, this is my home equity line of credit for up to $40,000. Now here's what's cool about this revolving account. If I use some of the money, I only have to pay interest on what I use. If I don't use it at all, I don't have to pay any money at all. And getting a home equity line of credit is free. In fact, when I work with my partners all over the world and they're saying, okay, Kris, we're accessing equity in our home. Should we just do a cash out refinance? And I say, nope, I want you to do a home equity line of credit. And they say, well, why? I said, because We don't know the exact amount of money that we need, and we only want to pay interest on the exact amount of money that we need. So instead, let's go find an investment, let's go buy it, and then we'll fund it with the home equity line of credit, and then we'll only be paying on the exact amount of interest that we're using. And then they think, yeah, but Kris, home equity lines of credit, they're variable. So like those rates can go up and down with time. It's like, yeah, after we've identified the investments and we use the HELOC or home equity line of credit to buy them, then we know how much money we've actually used. And then we can do what's called a rate and term refinance, which basically says, no more home equity line of credit. Whatever we've used over here, we now want to lock it into a low rate with a rate and term refinance. The third of the 5 steps is to now apply for the line of credit. And I don't like to do that at the bank that I normally bank with. You actually want to go to a credit union. They specialize in these home equity lines of credits, and it usually takes them about 2 weeks to put it all together for free. I recommend that you actually shop 2 different credit unions. And there's a reason why. When you go for your home equity line of credit, these banks aren't sending out official appraisers. That costs money. They really set up these lines of credit for free, which means they're using an internal system. Well, one bank's internal system might say your house is actually worth $320,000, in which case you're going to get a higher line of credit. And one other bank might say that your home's worth only $280,000. In which case you're going to get a lower line of credit. So if you want to get a higher line of credit, shop it around to at least 2 different credit unions. The 4th step is you now have your line of credit, which means, oh my gosh, I can start investing and I can buy real estate, or I can buy businesses or assets or things that actually make me money, which if you're a subscriber on my channel, those are the only things that we would do with a home equity line of credit, correct? Like, we're not going to go do something stupid like buy a plasma screen TV or put a down payment on a Ferrari that we can't afford. That would be stupid, right? Right. Hey Kris, they're called OLED TVs. They're not called plasma screen TVs anymore. I remember when I got my first home equity line of credit for $18,600, and you know what I did with it? I used it to buy an investment property, and guess what this is? This is the 5th step. Buy an investment property, or buy a business, or buy something where your money is going to work for you to make you more money. In other words, we have to escape this paradigm of I'm always trading my time for money through a job. The whole purpose of accessing that equity is like, I finally did something right. I bought something, it went up in value. I took some money off the table. And what did I do? I decided to do the same thing. I bought more stuff that increased in value, because if you do that, I mean, that's how I retired at the age of 26. I didn't buy one home, I bought a 2nd home, and then a 3rd home, and then I bought a 25th home, and then I had all of this excess money lying around. They were paying me collectively $12,000 a month of positive cash flow, which meant that when I graduated college, I didn't have to get a job. I'm kind of a fan on this home equity line of credit thing. By the way, if you have equity sitting in your home, you need to buy investments. And if you're like, but Kris, I don't know how to do that. I know a guy who's done $2 billion worth of 6,500 different deals, who's kind of a big deal in that space and kind of an expert and can kind of do it for you to make sure you don't mess it up. Like literally, if you click the link below and say, okay, Kris, if I go in with you, if I use some of my home equity or 401k or IRA or whatever, and I partner with you and you do all the work, what kind of money can we really make in real estate? And I promise the number is really exciting. And if you want to know what it is, click the link below and learn about partnering. And that, my friend, might be one of the very cool uses of the equity in your home. Kris, man, taking the equity out of my house, that's like moving backwards. I'm trying to get my house paid off. I'm like, oh, you've been watching Dave Ramsey, haven't you? I'm going to tell you right now that if you get your house paid off, you'll be feeling super secure at retirement. Like you'll be thinking, look at what I have in my 401k and my IRA. The average person has enough for 3 years of retirement. And obviously that's not enough money. And then you're like, but I got a paid off house. I'm like, not anymore. When you run out of money, you're either going to go back to work, or you're going to take the equity out of your house or sell your house or do something like a reverse mortgage. It sucks. It's better while you have time to access the equity now, put it to work, make more money, and then when you have enough money, go pay all that stuff off. If you want to know the real reasons why to never pay off your house, click right here, watch this video.